First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
The following is a presentation of TFNN. Trade what you see with Larry Pesavento. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648 or internationally at 727-873-7618. Now, Larry Pesavento.
Okay, looking good, Billy Ray, feeling good, Lewis. We're fortunate enough today to have Shane Smolian as our guest. And the reason why we're going to be talking to the Wolf Trader is we've had a couple questions on the Astro components of the market. One is about the Bradley model, and the second one is about Mercury Retrograde and retrograde motion in general. Could that be questions you might be able to help us with, Shane?
Absolutely. First of all, good afternoon. I hope I've reached Duke and Duke. I'm at the right place.
This is it, 100 South Broad Street. We're here.
All right, then I can answer the questions now, okay?
Go ahead.
All right, so I'll get into the Astro in the second half. I just have a few slides today, but I do want to talk about what's going on with the Fed. This is, and also the geomagnetic storm, which just passed, because this is a new phenomenon that we've been tracking now. Your good friend Arch Crawford has been tracking this since the 60s and 70s. I mean, he goes back, he's been tracking this, but he retired. And I started studying these storms, and when they come across the sun, even the Federal Reserve wrote a paper about this. And it's just shocking. I mean, when these two big storms came off, if you look back here, this is the S&P 500. If you look back to that March rally, the big storm ended that rally, and then another big storm came off the sun and ended this one. So two very similar situations came while that was happening. In the meantime, we were seeing this huge divergence here forming with the Fed internals. And I've been talking about this, that the fact that quantitative tightening has started and it's continuing means that there is this big divergence forming here. And so I think what's happening now is the market is starting to catch up with that. So this is really my most reliable forecasting tool since 2009. It's never let me down. And I've been telling people this, you need to be very careful about this, because I think they're going to have to be tightening now for quite a bit of time. I mean, it could go on for a year. And so the fact that this market kind of came back here was a nice convergence of, whatever you want to call the storm, if you want to call it astro events or astronomy, whatever you want to call it, this definitely affected the high here. I mean, this was a big storm. These two were the two big storms turned it. And then the Fed you can see the internals here are plummeting. And this is the most reliable forecasting tool that I've seen in the S&P. On a long-term basis, this is falling. And so we got to really pay attention to this, because the S&P cannot do anything without the Fed. Since 2009. Now, before 2009, that was a totally different situation. But I focus on the modern Fed, the modern monetary policy. This is what I track every day from the Federal Reserve. I get the data. I put it in, we track the Fed use, and this is plummeting, guys. This is plummeting. This is not a good sign. I think they need the market to come back, because this is part of the equation. I mean, there's many parts to the inflation equation, but this is definitely part of it. And I think they're trying to engineer, a soft landing. But as long as this is continuing, the S&P is going to struggle here. So that was just the Fed and the geomagnetic storm. So I wanted to point that out. Also, down here, I have this Bollinger Band volatility. Now, I talk a lot about this. When the market tends to move strong, this Bollinger Band volatility starts to increase. Now, it's much more reliable on the downside to hit lows, but on the upside, it can keep going higher and higher and higher. And so we haven't even come back to match this previous high. So I think there's still plenty of room here to move lower here on the S&P. And as we get into this month, this is an interesting month, because I think the first part of the month is going to be more negative. And then I think the election seasonals are going to pick up probably about the third month of September. And then we might get a little tailwind going into October, and then probably down again from there. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. This is an intraday chart, and I always talk about what I call the poop slinging rallies, where people are just slinging poop on the wall to see if it sticks, hoping that the market will go up. And you can, because you go to the zoo and the monkeys are slinging the poop everywhere, right? So you can see here each time, this is the sign of a bear market. So there's two things to be careful about with bear markets. Number one, that the selling these selling waves, they appear to come out of nowhere, okay? But that's not the case because we're in a downtrend, but it appears like that, and it's kind of shocking, and when they come, it's like lightning. So I tell people I'm like, look, we're in a bear market, so when you see these rallies, they're going to get retraced very quickly here. And we had this really impressive rally here off the lows, and it coincided with the G3 geomagnetic storm, the full moon in perigee, which is a very, very reliable topping Astro indicator, and then here we go again. We're the poop slinging rally's over, and we're starting this next leg lower here. Now, I think you had Peter Eliades on the other day. He had a beautiful cycle that traced this out, and I think you're going to have him on this week, Larry. Is that correct?
Yeah,
like Friday?
It's going to be on Friday. Yes.
I think if I remember his chart, I think he had like a double bottom forming into here. You're going to have to ask him that on Friday. But to me, that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense because I think the election stuff is real. The seasonal's real. I think people get excited. And I think we'll probably get some kind of a pause into late September, October. But right now, I think we're in the leg of some selling here. And I think there's, like I said, there's some air down here. I think there's some room for us to still move lower. And then long-term, guys, quantitative tightening, this market is really going to struggle to get any type of progress here with this Fed. This is the daily chart that I put up here, but I have a lot of different arrows here. But this G3 storm comes in right at the high, the double optimized linear cycles in a sell, and then the optimized Bradley, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, that went into a sell on 8:30. So you've got some sell signals stacking up here, and you can't even see it, but the Fed juice has been in a sell since February. That's this indicator down here. And the Fed internals have been in a sell since last July, not this July, last July. So over a year. So these are all in the gutter, and it's just really hard for this market to move without the Fed to the upside. I mean, you can have these rallies, bear market rallies can be impressive, but it's going to be very difficult until there's a meaningful change of policy. And I'm not talking about, we're just going to pause interest rate hikes. I'm talking about, and I'm not even talking about interest cuts. I'm talking about QE. Until we see QE again, the market's going to struggle here. I wanted to point your attention over here to the left side here. So these are the daily statistics. I post these each day for subscribers, but essentially what I want you to look at here is we're at Wednesday. So these are today and tomorrow are the two strongest days. And then Monday, Tuesday are the two weakest days. So I think the vulnerability is going to come next week, probably at the beginning of the week for the S&P. So you asked me about the Mercury Retrograde. So this is an efficiency test of how the S&P reacts around the Mercury station. That's going to be on September the 9th, but we have a window of plus or minus 3 days on each side. So I think if you come back to the 5th, which is like Monday, I think that's going to be your trouble spot. And then this continues to show weakness after the station. But the fact that we're in a declining market makes you should pay more attention to this because each major market dislocation, and there's not one exception, when you look at the big crashes, they all happen within 3 days of the Mercury station. So you got to pay attention to that.
Hey, that's really great. Stay right with us, folks. We'll be right back with the Shane Smolian, wolftrader.com, and we're going to be talking about the Bradley model. We'll be right back.
Of booming inflation, where your purchasing power is eroded, there's no better place to protect your hard-earned money than in gold. Vista Gold's flagship asset is the Mount Todd Gold Project in the Northern Territory of Australia. This is Australia's largest undeveloped gold project. We are talking a world-class gold project in a Tier 1 mining district. This is a large-scale, low-cost project with significant existing infrastructure in a politically safe and friendly mining jurisdiction. Vista Gold just completed the Mount Todd feasibility study, which resulted in a 7 million ounce gold reserve and a 16-year mine life. All of this, combined with the approvals of all major operational as well as environmental permits. This distinguishes Mount Todd as an attractive, de-risk partner, ready development stage gold project. Vista Gold trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol VGZ.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you looking for a way to consistently add winning trades to your portfolio? Tom O'Brien is here to help. Tom O'Brien has been successfully trading markets for over 30 years. A frequent contributor to TD Ameritrade Network and CNBC, Tom O'Brien founded TFNN over 20 years ago to help educate investors just like you. Tom's daily market newsletter, Market Insights, is published every morning when the market's open to give you the competitive informational edge you need to succeed. These newsletters are packed full of Tom's advanced technical analysis and are geared to deliver comprehensive strategies for a successful portfolio. Get Tom O'Brien's newsletter, Market Insights, today and try all of our products and newsletters 30 days risk-free with our money-back guarantee at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Okay, we're back and we're chatting with Shane Smolian, thewolftrader.com. One question, it's September the 9th, is Mercury goes retrograde. Is that correct, Shane?
Correct, yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Continue, please.
Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the traditional Bradley. Now, this is not my official forecast model. I actually have a Biorhythm now that I developed that's going to be what I call the official forecast model, but I do like to look at it to give some context. Now, this Bradley, okay, so we're in a Jupiter cycle. I don't have that graph up, but we're in like a 6-year decline. The strongest portion of that comes in 2023 to 2024, the decline. So right now, if you look at the Bradley here, it looks like it doesn't do that much, but there is some kind of a dip here in early November. And then interestingly enough, it shoots up here. This is near the election. And then there's a low here going out to December. So we're like right here in September, and it's kind of just going sideways. But there are a few periods here that I like. I do like this area out into here in early December, late November. I do like that as a potential low point for the markets, and then possibly another low one coming out into January, February. But I like that area out into there. I do think there's going to be some type of excitement going on before the election. So we'll see how that goes. I think, and it could actually peak before the election. Like this actually looks pretty good. I think you could see a peak before the election and then a dip, and then we'll see what happens. But I do like this area, this late November, early December area for some type of a low. And then right now, I think we have a chance for, I think we're going to come down, and then I think probably the third week of the month around there, that's when the election stuff will start, because people thought that these polls were, it was a done deal, and now the polls are tightening and it's not really sure. So I think it's going to make a little more of a tense situation, and that can cause the market to rally. I do want to talk about this Biorhythm. This is it's an indicator I've been working on. It's kind of a hybrid between cycles and astrology, but I'm not going to get into the whole detail behind it. But this is a new forecast model that I have, and it does show us at a peak here. This could be up to 4 months in terms of a peak. This on the long-term cycle here. But this is showing a peak. And then if we look side by side of the Biorhythm and then the optimized Bradley, both of these just came across highs. So the optimized Bradley here on the right, this came on a high on 830. And then this Biorhythm, which this is going to become the new official forecast model. I'm going to have one forecast model, and then all the other stuff will be for context. This made a high too on 824, and it does show us heading down. So because these are both heading down, I think next week is going to be the week to watch. And then I think watch for some kind of election rally low coming in. And so that's basically it. That was just my summary there on the Mercury station, the Fed, the Mercury station, and then the Bradley. So just to kind of give you a synopsis, that's what we're looking at.
Well, that's really good. Thank you very much, Shane. I know you're very, very busy, so thanks for joining us, and we're going to have you on in a couple of weeks, especially when we get through this thing with the Mercury going retrograde, because I've always been interested in the Mercury stuff myself. So it's one of the key things that I do look at. So you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you really soon, okay?
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, we have a special guest also today. Tim Bost is going to be joining us at our break here at the half hour. Tomorrow we will have Stan Harley, and then on Friday we will have Peter Elides from Stock Market Cycles will be our guest for Friday. So we want to cover a few things here. We're coming into what I think could be something very important, folks. I just want to bring this to your attention. I'm going to bring the AI, Artificial Intelligence program, up so you can take a look at it. The reason why I'm doing it's lining up really perfectly. The question is, it may not work, but you're going to see here in about 20 minutes, we should be making a bottom down here just a little bit after the hour while we're on with Tim. We should be making a bottom around that time and then rally the rest of the day. Remember now that if 10 or 15 minutes later, if this is making new lows, it's no good. It's got to work right away, folks. I mean, it only has a 5 to 7 bar tolerance, 10 to 15 minutes. And if it's not working, you don't want to have anything to do with it. I want to show you one that worked really well today. I mean, they don't always work like this, but here's one that we had that was working extremely well. This happens to be the reason why I'm showing it to you is I want to show it to you how it lines up with the patterns that we were waiting to see. Now, there's the timing indicator. You can see we were looking to be bottoming right in here, and we did, and that, we came down $5,000 and up $4,000. But look at this beautiful Gartley pattern right in the middle, folks. Perfect ABCD, and then boom, off to the races. We went way above the price of that's on the chart here already because it's starting to move pretty good. But it's very, very nice when you see these line up, just perfectly the way we've been watching. Now we have a position in the gold that is working extremely well, but I wanted to talk about the silver market here just a little bit, and we'll get up here to put this in here so we can see this beautiful chart in silver because we're getting ready, folks. I think we're probably within maybe $1 or so, but we're going to be coming down in here. We're almost at this double bottom. We have not quite taken that bottom out yet, believe it or not. Even with the weakness that we're having here, it's not taking that bottom out. That comes in at 1768. The low has been 1784 so far, 1780 so far today. So I want to watch to see how that takes it out because we could be looking, and this is a long term, of course, you could be looking at another move down here to this 1.618 expansion. And folks, believe it or not, that's at $16 an ounce. That is a very strong number. You can see the 3 drive to a bottom pattern on this long-term thing. Now, over the last weeks, we've been talking about the bearishness that we're seeing in the gold market. One of the things that we pointed out that the reason why the gold market is not doing well is that the gold miners, the GDX, is doing quite poorly. Well, it's following along what the stock market is doing, and it's also following along with what the gold and silver have been doing. You can see here we had a perfect ABCD at the 61% retracement. Now, this is a weekly. We go down for 5 weeks. We rally back to the exact 61% retracement, and then it starts to go lower and lower. This is not bullish action, folks. It really isn't. But gold is such a sweetheart to trade. I wanted to just show you today, because those of you that follow along with the 24/7, we had a really interesting pattern today. Get this up here so we'll be able to see it. This is a daily chart. And as you can see, let's try that again, Larry. That's a 60-minute chart. And as you can see here, we made a low down here today, and we rallied $12 exactly to the 382 at 1734. The high was 1734.60 was the 382. It went to 1735.20, and now we're trading $8 below that. And as you can see, we've got these larger targets out here. One comes in at around 1705, and the other one comes in at around 1695, but that'll be down the road a little bit. Now, we're going to have a break here pretty soon, and then we're going to have Tim Boss as our guest. And we had a double guest today because we had some questions. We'll even ask some of those to our good friend Tim. 877-927-6648.
If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my Gold Report. The Gold Report is a comprehensive look at the metal sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the Gold Report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the Gold Report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Okay, we're back, folks, and I believe we have Tim Boss, Financial Cycles Weekly, on the horn today.
You do indeed. Welcome, sir.
Hey,
how are you?
How did the move go? You finally settled down?
You know, it's been amazing. My wife's daughter came and camped out with us for a week and cracked the whip, and we got boxes unpacked, and we can move around and find chairs to sit in now. So much progress.
Well, next to death, moving is right up there with causing stress. That's absolutely
It's a high stress factor. No two shakes about that.
I noticed on your first slide here, we got 3 major planets here within about 5 weeks that are going retrograde. We just had a conversation with Shane Smolian about retrograde. This ought to be a pretty big deal, shouldn't it, Tim?
We are looking for it to be pretty significant here. Let me see if I can get my slide to cooperate here. It's not advancing for some reason. Let's see. Give me a second here. See if we can make this happen. There we go. That should change. There we go. So yeah, we have actually the last week we had the Uranus retrograde station. We talked about that ahead of time. Day after tomorrow, this Friday, we've got Admetos going retrograde. A week after that, Mercury goes retrograde. It'll stay retrograde for most of the month of September, and then end of October, Mars goes retrograde. Mars only goes retrograde once every other year, so that's a little bit more rare phenomenon there. But all of this has the potential for shaking up the markets. The rule of thumb is this. The retrograde motion of planets is an optical illusion. It appears that way from our earthbound perspective. They don't actually back up in the sky. But the notion here is that from our point of view, the planets change direction and start to move backwards for a period of time. And when the planets change directions, oftentimes the markets will change direction too. It's not always down to the day, it's not 100%, but that's what we're looking for, is the potential for shifts in key trends every time we get one of these retrograde phenomena. Now, Mercury retrograde we get 3 times a year, so it's pretty frequent, less of an impact there. These other guys happen about once a year, and Mars every other year, so we get these overlapping effects going on here in the process. So we'll be taking a closer look here at Mercury retrograde in the next week, 10 days, as we move into that phase. There are lots of things to pay attention to with that. And we're very familiar with that. What we want to do today, though, is focus on what's happening this Friday with Admetos. We've got Admetos going retrograde on Friday, the 2nd of September. Now, this will take place, Admetos will be at 3 degrees 43 minutes of the sign of Gemini when it does this. It's going to stay in retrograde motion almost half a year. It'll be February the 15th of next year, 5.5 months from now. And here's an interesting factor. You notice here at the top that it will turn retrograde at 3 degrees 43 minutes of Gemini. It'll spend 5.5 months backing up all the way back to 2 degrees 26 minutes of Gemini, a little over a degree, about a degree and a quarter. And this moves very, very slowly when it, as a rule of thumb anyway. So this is covering an incredibly small amount of territory as it inches its way backwards over the next 5.5 months. Essentially, we're talking about this being a magnifying effect around this particular area of the zodiac, and especially amplifying at the time of the retrograde station now and the direct station in February, amplifying the power of Admetos. Of course, Admetos is one of our trans-Neptunian buddies. It's out there beyond the orbit of Pluto. It's a Kuiper belt object, and so there's actually stuff out there. It's no longer a hypothetical, but it acts as a super Saturn. It tends to constrict things enormously. Pardon me. So when Saturn slows things down, Admetos jumps in and calls it a total halt. It's like slamming into a brick wall, so to speak. We mentioned the fact that it moves slowly. In fact, it takes 617 years to make one cycle around the sun. Most of us don't live that long to see it do the complete deal there. And it's a little over 0.5 degree per year is how slow this motion is. In other words, it covers in a year's time the amount of celestial space that the moon covers in about 1 hour and 10 minutes. So it's quite slow there. It's all about symbolically things coming to a standstill, a total halt, blockages that get in our way. Also, primary material, raw materials, resources of that sort, very strongly emphasized by Admetos. Core principles in a philosophical way. What is the beginning, the end of something? What can we rely on? What gives us a sense of stability? All associated with Admetos in different ways. So with the markets, we're looking for an opportunity to slow down, change direction, come to a halt, and get back to basics in terms of core values in the markets as well. A lot of speculation going on and we're looking here with enormous PE ratios, things of that sort. Almito says, hey, wait a minute, buddy, let's take a more serious look at the facts of the matter here, right? So this particular station occurs again day after tomorrow on Friday. It'll be about 2 hours before the closing bell, but it's exact. We're less worried about the exact time than we are about the alignments there with us along the way. It activates the Zeus Chiron midpoint, which is all about confronting different kinds of challenges. Chiron, whenever it kicks in, says things get pretty sticky here. We're embarrassed at the best, bumfuzzled at the worst. Is maybe the best word there. But it's all about the use of force when we engage Zeus. So if we try to push things too hard, whether it's our financial positions or by using force in outward ways with police action, military action, what have you, then we get into trouble and it creates obstacles and challenges. The Sun-Moon activation is a simple indication of not getting things done. It's funny, I've had a number of clients that I've spoken with the last day or two, and they're saying, I'm just having trouble getting stuff accomplished. And that's exactly what we see around the time of the Almito's activation. Also, it can become an ending of things, breakup of marriages, breakup of friendships, breaking up of financial associations, businesses, what have you. The Sun-Venus dynamic is all about the efforts to try to reach out and love and make peace, and they get rejected, or that people are not willing to come to peaceable terms, basically. The Cupido-Apollon dynamic says that there are hindrances to various expressions, particularly in the realm of the arts and the sciences as well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we're at with all this. Let's take a quick look at what it means for the markets. This is how the S&P typically responds to these retrograde stations by Almitos. We get one once a year, and because it moves so slowly, it typically, I think last year was September 1st, this year it's September 2nd. It's not always exactly the same date, but again, that advances very, very slowly. Before the station, for about a week, we tend to have an upward trend with the S&P. Shortly thereafter, it backs off for about 2 weeks, and we get some choppiness coming out of this, typically for the next 30 days. Not a clearly defined shift in trend, but it does tend to be more congested than is typically the case prior to the station. So we like to do our back testing here and then find the optimum trade. In this case,
we're going to take a little break here, Tim. We'll be right back, folks. Financial Cycles Weekly. Tim Boss is our guest. We'll be right back.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
The technology around us is changing every day. With so much happening, it can seem impossible to keep up with all the information. David White's investment newsletter, The Technology Insider, is designed to give you all the information you need to understand the technology that shapes today's markets and tomorrow's future. David White has made his living staying on the cutting edge of technology. His weekly newsletter will give you specific recommendations for value tech stocks, as well as entry prices, target prices, and stops to set for each trade. Dave delivers his weekly newsletters every Friday with updates throughout the week. You can get the Technology Insider at TFNN.com for only $37.50. Sign up for David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, and get an inside look at everything the technology sector has to offer. Try it risk-free today with our 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
Biotech is booming, but for how long? Whether you think the biotech bull has room to run or has run its course, trade LABU or LABD. Direction's daily S&P Biotech 3 times bull and bear ETFs. Visit directioninvestments.com/biotech today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Okay, we're back, folks. We're talking with Tim Boss, Financial Cycles Weekly. You want to continue, my friend?
Surely. We've been looking at the impact of the Mercury Retrograde station, which is coming up day after tomorrow here on Friday the 2nd of September. And doing our back testing with the S&P, we determined the optimum trade here would be to enter a long position on Monday, the 12th of September, and then sell off that position September 23rd on Friday there. This has a 64% probability of being a winning trade, a slight edge. Generally, we like to see better odds than that, but this looks like the best that we can get out of the S&P with this particular station at this time. Expected ROI on that of about 0.75% for that swing trade there. Taking a look at gold, it's a very, very different pattern than what we saw a few minutes ago with the S&P chart. When we have the Mercury Retrograde station, there's a very strong period of congestion that occurs. It tends to set a boundary, an upper limit, a resistance zone for gold, and the bias tends to be toward the downside with that. We mentioned the fact that Almitos is associated with standstills, things coming to a halt. And that this picture of that tells us what it's like, at least for the for trading in the gold market. With that in play, then we would be looking at the potential for a move to the short side here. Looks like if we sell gold short on Tuesday, the 6th of September, the day after this weekend's Labor Day break there, that would give us a 2-week play covering exactly 2 weeks later on Tuesday the 20th with a 64.7, almost 65% probability of that being a winning trade. ROI on that just a smidge under 1%, 0.94%. So not too bad a move for a 2-week trade. Again, we'd like to see a little higher probability there, but that looks like the optimum trade for gold coming out of this particular Mercury Retrograde station. We thought we'd take a look at an individual stock, and I scanned a number of them, and this one caught my eye again because of that congested period. This is Apple, and for about 3 weeks prior to the retrograde station by Admitos, it tends to be in an uptrend, and then it hits the brakes severely and essentially goes flat for almost 2 weeks, is what is typical with this. So that Admitos impact of hitting a brick wall seems to be reflected pretty strongly with shares in this widely traded equity here. With Apple, we'd be looking at buying on Wednesday, the 7th of September, That would be Wednesday of next week, a week from today, in fact. And then selling on Friday the 9th. Holding it just 2 days there gives us almost a 66 probability of a winning trade. And again, an ROI of just under 1%. We believe that might be worth taking a shot at simply because of the limited time exposure there with that trade. With appropriate stops in place, you can be well protected for that kind of setup. And then finally, we wanted to take a look at Bitcoin as well. Now, we look at these charts with Bitcoin. We want to remind you that we have about 10 years of trading history. The Mercury retrograde stations occur once a year, so we don't have a lot of examples to go on. But based on our history here, this is what we're seeing with that whole Bitcoin dynamic, definitely a negative bias. Now, we said the last time we were on the show that we're looking for Bitcoin to hit a trading top around the 24th of August. Actually, it was a few days earlier than that. And then a decline into the equinox on the 23rd of September. And so this reinforces that kind of action with a negative bias for Bitcoin during September. Because of that, we're looking at a potential here for a short position. And in fact, it would be right on the equinox. We believe there's a short-term trade there as it hits a trading bottom potentially over the weekend. If we sell short on Friday the 23rd of September right on the equinox and then buy to cover the following Monday, we have an 80% likelihood of it being a winning trade there with almost a 4% ROI. Bitcoin tends to go into action over most weekends. We anticipate that weekend will be especially negative for that particular crypto at that point. So that's part of what we're looking at with the Bitcoin perspective overall. And, Bitcoin has been going through some pretty turbulent times lately, to say the least. It's always been turbulent and exciting and volatile and all kinds of interesting stuff going on. One of the big things that has happened here is that we've seen a big pullback in the large scale investments in Bitcoin by some institutional players. There's a lot less emphasis there, but there's a strong retail base that's still hanging on, and we'll have to see if it's going to get enough clout to actually rally things along the way. So from a fundamental perspective, that's what's happening with it. From our astrological perspective, we continue to use our trading chart here with the planetary price lines for Venus and for Chronos. The Chronos lines are the horizontal purple ones defining key areas of support and resistance for Bitcoin. We've tracked this long enough to believe that there's something intrinsically going on with that Chronos dynamic, and it gives us very, very vital information. So right now we're looking at the critical support zone of 19,350. When we checked it about an hour or so ago, it was trading just shy of 20,000, 19,974 was where it was then. I haven't had a chance to check it in the last hour, but it's been dancing around that 20,000 mark for the past week here. As you can see from the lower right of the trading chart there, it continues to find support on that Chronos line. Has dipped below that 20,000 mark, and then the buyers tend to jump in a hurry and pick some up at that point. So it's an interesting dynamic that's going on there with Bitcoin.
Your next one with this Astro cycle forecast, this is really amazing. Is this a Bradley model type thing, Kim?
Actually, what we do here is independent cycle research, and go back and back test the cycles and then derive a composite from them. So this is a composite of the top 15 or 20 cycles that Bitcoin exhibits. And then we go back and look at the turning points in those cycles to see if there are correlations with key astrological events. And with our cycle model there, that point A was the Uranus station back on the 24th of August, and we were a few days before that when we prepared this chart. But the key piece is between A and B. B is the Libra equinox that comes in on the 23rd of September. We're looking for that to be a trading bottom for Bitcoin at that point. So we were anticipating the move up. It was an upward trend, but not quite as volatile as has been the case in the past. So we didn't get a lot of gain in the price there, but we are looking for the pullback into September 23rd.
Wow, that's really good. Can you stay with us, Tim?
Be glad to.
We'll be right back, folks. Tim Boss, Financial Cycles Weekly, will be up next, telling us about his upcoming webinar to give us some good information.
Vista Gold owns and operates the largest undeveloped gold project in Australia, the Mount Todd Gold Project. Vista Gold just completed their feasibility study, resulting in a 7 million ounce gold reserve. Vista Gold has all major permits approved and has retained CIBC capital market assistance in evaluating alternatives and in completing an accretive transaction. Vista Gold trades on the NYSE American and TSX under the ticker symbol VGZ. Vista Gold, executing a strategy to create shareholder value.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Okay, we're back, folks. We're speaking with Tim Boss, Financial Cycles Weekly. You've got a webinar for us coming up, Tim. You want to tell us about it?
Absolutely. We do, in fact, have a webinar coming up later today. It'll be 5 p.m. Eastern Time, about 4 hours from now. To get on our list for webinar notifications, join us at bit.ly/TimLarryP. That's capital T, capital L, capital P. Everything is lowercase. That's a case-sensitive URL, so that'll connect you with a little form so we can get your email address and send you the webinar notifications. Again, go ahead and get signed up right away, because that will let us get you the link to today's webinar. We will be starting about 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're focusing today on an interesting concept. Astrology gives us enormous advantage in the markets when we apply it correctly. So the question is, why doesn't it work all the time? We should be able to get consistent money out of this thing, right? So we're going to focus today on the biggest mistake that most traders make when they try to use astrology in the markets, and what can be done to correct that. So it'll be fairly informal. We'll have a lot of time for questions and chat and answers along the way, but we've got some great information to share with you. It's absolutely free. If you don't like it, we'll give you double your freedom back. How's that?
Hey, this is good. Hey, thanks for joining us, Tim. We really appreciate it, buddy. We'll have you on in a couple of weeks, especially after Mercury goes retrograde. We want to talk about these.
We need to talk about that whole cycle when we get a chance to do that.
That's absolutely
Thank you, Larry.
for sure.
We'll see you real soon.
Thank you, Tim Boss, Financial Cycles Weekly, folks. The bottom should be in the stock market. If we make a new low now in the S&P below that 39.63 level, then we are will be going down the rest of the day. But if the trading gods are with us, we should have a pretty good rally for the last 2 hours of the day. May or may not materialize, but everything is set up for it to actually do that. We made a new low exactly when it was supposed to happen, and now we'll see if it's going to hold up. Stop is right under the low of the day, boys and girls. It's that simple. Live every day in an attitude of gratitude, and may God bless, and we'll see you on the flip side tomorrow. And thank you very much for joining us today.